just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up now.
Welcome to the HVAC Guide for Homeowners YouTube live show where we talk about all things HVAC, giving you tips I'd give to my own mom. We will be answering some of your questions live. Sometimes we are joined by other pros in the chat who might know answers to questions that I don't. And finally, we have breakout segments where we go over funny clips, industry news, and goofy inventions. Before we get the show started with tonight's astonishing story in the news, let's take a moment to pay the bills and thank the sponsor of our show.
Daikin Fit is so quiet, you'll definitely notice by not really noticing at all. Save space, save energy, save interruptions. Enjoy the game-changing efficiency of the Daikin Fit. It cools, dehumidifies, and heats so efficiently, it even keeps your energy bills comfortable. Daikin Fit.
So again, thank you to Daikin. Let's get the show started tonight. First, wanted to say hello to Bernie. If you're here on our chat, feel free to say hello. Maybe drop where you're at, where you're located. It's always fun to kind of know that where everyone's located. You may find out that someone is located near you that's here. And, obviously any information or questions I answer for them would be pertinent to you as well. That said, I've got a pretty cool story tonight. It's actually a local story to me, which is, I think, a first. I think I haven't done a whole lot of local stories, but I came across this story about a Virginia Beach family. It is from this past year, and what's crazy is they had gone a decade without heat. They had gone over a decade without any heat in their home. How they were getting by, I have no idea. I don't think we have like the coldest winters here in Virginia, by no means, and especially down near the coast. But cold enough. So this story came, looks like it was from back in November. Virginia Beach family will have home heating this winter for the first time in a decade. This Thanksgiving, one Virginia Beach family is expressing their gratitude towards Dominion Energy. After struggling for about a decade without heat in their home, they're finally able to live comfortably. Louise Hill said for 10 years, she and her family lived in unpleasant conditions. Quote, "We had a leaking roof. We had been using window air conditioners, and we had space heaters, of course, in the wintertime. So just little old space heaters is how they were getting by. That was until Dominion Energy stepped in to help. In a story back in April, Dominion almost completely transformed the House of Seven. Resident Andrew Doyle, I think I'm saying that right, Dole, said he didn't expect that at all. Quote, "I thought they were just going to kind of come in and seal the doors or something like that, but they came in and did so much from the insulation in the attic, fixing the vent pipes that go between the rooms, Doyle said. Hill said going into the summer months, they would usually have all the windows open, fans on, etc., just to stay cool. But since that weight was lifted off their shoulders, their bills have already become cheaper. Quote, in reducing all of that, I believe it was the first $25 to $50 improvement, Hill said. Dominion Energy's help had really improved their quality of life, Hill said. It took several months for some people to go, oh gosh, I'm sleeping at night and I don't have an air conditioner right next to my head or 2 fans in the rooms. That's kind of how I grew up, to be honest with you. This was done through Dominion Energy's Energy Share program. The program has been helping customers with bill assistance since 1982, and also allows with weatherization, with upgrades to lighting, AC tune-ups, and more. Hill said she heard about the program through word of mouth and wants to pay it forward to anyone else who might need help. This is a legitimate and a good program, so please get the word out. We are so grateful for what Dominion Energy has done for us, which is really cool. Dominion is the power. For those of you that aren't from Virginia, Dominion's our big, electric company. That's who we get all of our electric through and such. So good on them. And let me see if I can get this back on our chat. Hello to Randy. And again, hello to Bernie. So again, if you guys are joining us, feel free to drop a hello in the chat. Our numbers are a little low tonight, surprisingly. I actually thought our numbers would be higher this week just because of the story, but I'm fine with that. It's just the handful of us so far. Maybe sometimes the numbers will go up later as the show goes on. But yeah, numbers seem to be a little low tonight. Let's go to our first segment of the night, a segment that I call Josh's Question for You. Tonight's first question, again, it's just a question that I like to ask you guys, kind of poll the audience a little bit. We've got these new refrigerants coming up, and I am actually teaching my first class on that exact subject. Those of you that have kind of followed me for a while know that I just recently sold my company that I had for over a decade and made the leap, if you will, made the leap. Usually they say I made the leap and I started a company. I made the leap and sold my company. But I'm actually teaching other pros now, and I'm working on a class on A2L refrigerants and, some ins and outs details of that. So my question to you guys, for our breakout segment is, are you concerned about them? They're A2L refrigerants. They're mildly flammable. That's the verbiage that most of the industry is using, that they're mildly flammable. And so, when folks say A2L, the way that breaks down is the A. In fact, I might be able to kind of show you guys, those of you that don't know, let me show you kind of how that works. So that way you kind of, you get a good idea of what they're saying when they say A2L. Hopefully you guys can kind of see this, but this is a kind of a chart that makes it a little easier to understand. So basically the letter, so if it's an A versus a B, it just means it has little to no toxicity. So, the refrigerants that have a B in there, they're going to be toxic. Ammonia would be on that side of things. So the A says, hey, it's little to no toxicity. And then the higher that number, the more flammable it is. So, propane would be an A3, 410A would be an A1. Okay. R22 was an A1. But the A2L refrigerants that the industry is coming out with, I'm just curious, do you have any concerns about that? What are those concerns? They are very low flammability. And when I say very low, meaning I've watched a ton of videos. In fact, we're going to do a video soon about how flammable they actually are. And so I've seen videos where guys are trying to set it on fire. Um, they'll get it to finally catch fire, but then as soon as they remove the flame, it goes out, stuff like that. I saw another test recently. This was a recent one. I think it was recent anyway, where there's all these videos online of things blowing up, right? And I think it should be noted that anything under pressure, including A1 refrigerants, can explode, right? If things are not done right, you could overcharge that system and, pressures just get so absolutely high that things can happen, right? But there's all these videos on the internet of these refrigerators blowing up, especially the ones that have 600, I believe it's 600A, I think is the refrigerant. 600A refrigerant, which is actually it's basically isobutane. It's very flammable. It's an A3 refrigerant and very, very flammable. And there's all these, you could look it up, there's videos online of these refrigerators blowing up, literally blowing the doors off of them. And I saw the same test with A2L refrigerants where they put all this A2L refrigerant in there, let it leak. They intentionally made it leak. So now you've got this fridge filling up with this A2L gas or refrigerant. And then they had this device creating sparks, and it did not explode. It did not, at times it would maybe kind of burn off. You kind of see it catch fire for like a second or two, and then it would dissipate, So in comparison, very mild flammability. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that. Do you have any concerns on that? We've done videos on it. We're going to do more videos, especially as these products start to get rolled out. And, I think that some folks do have some concerns, especially the more folks need to get educated on this topic. The more concerns they have. Is that the way to say it? The less educated they are, the more concerned they are, maybe is the better way to say it. So anyway, lower numbers, definitely a quiet crowd. Feel free to say hello. Feel free to share your thoughts. That's my question for tonight on A2L refrigerants. I think that as they come out, maybe those fears will diminish. I think the thing I'm going to say in my class with a lot of these techs is I think safety needs to be high. I think you need to be serious about it, but I don't know that you need to be fearful about it. I don't know that they're so flammable that you need to be scared of them as long as you're doing everything properly. Randy says, question for you, looking at a TempStar system, your thoughts, 4-ton unit. Randy, can you be a little more specific, context on that? If you're asking what I think of TempStar, it's an ICP brand. ICP is owned by Carrier. Unlike a lot of misinformation out there, I don't think that all their products are exactly the same as a Carrier, unlike, say, a Bryant. If you buy a Bryant, more times than not, it's the same as, Carrier, just like American Standard is the same as Trane, same model numbers across the board usually. And so that said, ICP has they have a decent reputation in our industry. I think my answer to your question would be, what are your thoughts on the contractor? I would care a little less about the brand and way more about the contractor. Are they a good contractor? Will they stand behind what they install? Do they like TempStar? If so, why? Those are some of the questions that I would ask, to you and your contractor. Emery says, hi, Josh. Can't believe I'm running the AC in February in Texas. Yeah. Where are you at in Texas again? I know you've told me 100 times, but is it Houston or somewhere else in Texas there? But yeah, I can't believe that either. Ream and Rudd are the same too. That's right. Yeah. So a lot of brands are like that. Daikin is becoming more like that with some. So there used to be, when Daikin first bought Goodman and Amana, there was a very definitive difference between the three. I think those lines are blurring a little more now, but especially as Amana and Goodman start to continue to come out with higher end stuff, higher end side discharge inverter systems and things like that, which is great, for the industry. But College Station, that's right. You've told me that. I'm sorry. But yeah, I think that's not uncommon. And as far as ICP goes, from what I have seen and historically, ICP has been different from the Carrier and Bryant lines, but still a very decent reputation. I would not be scared to put one in my house. In fact, I think we installed a couple of them, at one point. I didn't like the supplier, so I stopped. I think we only installed a couple. And the supplier was actually, they're a wholesaler, but they sell mostly appliance parts. Like if your fridge needs a new fan, and things like that. So it wasn't really their thing. It wasn't their bread and butter. And they didn't really have the best structure as far as support. If I needed help, if I needed a part, things like that, that it was just something they sold and which is fine, but it just wasn't their thing. Let's see. Arch says we had a Tempstar 3.5 ton package heat pump that bit the dust after 19 years. That's saying something right there. 19 years. And Arch, y'all have got those units on top of the roof, right? So those units are getting abused big time. Kelly says, I am from Minnesota. I work at one of the Daikin factories, working now as a tubing operator. Yesterday it was a high of 68 degrees, and now today it is snowing. Wow. How much snow do y'all get, Kelly? I'm just curious. Do you get feet at times? Do you get feet of snow? Yeah, that's crazy. My dad actually works in a Daikin factory. That's not why I sold Daikin at my company. That's not why I like them. It was just ironic. In fact, the factory he works at is more on the commercial side of things, so I don't know that it would have mattered anyway. Lower end ICP models have a cheap coil cover that doesn't protect against hail. Yeah, that's actually not uncommon for a lot of the Carrier stuff. So they're lower end models for the longest time. Let me show you guys so you don't think I'm just bashing Carrier. Carrier heat pump. So yeah, so if you guys can see, these units that have just it's almost like I don't know, like jail bars over it, but very open holes. Hail can usually get in there and mess that coil up, among other things. And then it's not until you get to some of their Infinity stuff or their higher end stuff that you see them start to have the same grill or quality metal cover over the coil that, to be completely honest with you, a lot of the other brands have it on their lower end stuff. So that's something Carrier's done for years. Carrier, Bryant, ICP. Let's see what comes up when I do that. ICP heat pump. Yeah, there you go. So there's a Tempstar right there. The units still have that. See how different it looks though? That's what I'm talking about. So they're not, a lot of guys will say, well, it's a Carrier product. They're the same thing. Well, it's not the same thing. Do they both have compressors? Yeah, but they're not 100% the same. They're different. There's some engineering and different ins and outs that are different between the product lines. But yeah, I just put in ICP, and Tempstar is one of the top ones that pop up there. But the ICP umbrella, if you will, there's multiple brands under that umbrella. Tempstar being one of them. Now, if it's under that umbrella, it's usually the same stuff, right? So a Heil and a Tempstar and what was this other one up here? What was that? Grand Air, they're all going to be pretty much the same stuff. If you look at that Grand Air unit right there, Although that looks a little more Carrier-ish, doesn't it? It doesn't look like this, doesn't have these grills on the side, right? So, but anyway, you guys get the point. And that's a good point, Arch. Something good to think about, if you're about to spend a lot of money on a heating and air system. Day and Night, Arch just pointed out, is another one. Day and Night is also an ICP brand. So, Bob, welcome to the show. I don't see you as much, Bob. When I first started my live show, you were kind of the guy. There were nights where it was just me and you just chatting, buddy. Here in Houston, we got up to 90 degrees. Wow. That is crazy. You guys are wearing shorts. I did not wear shorts today. Although in Virginia, it did get up to, we were probably pushing 60, I don't know, 67, 68 degrees today. So Kelly says, yes, sometimes it does snow feet, but this year it hasn't snowed much at all. We didn't even have to start up the snowblower. Eee. Well, that stinks. Stinks for the kids, right? I have a guy that I work with. I don't want to say much more about him other than that, but as far as who he is, but he likes to go to Minnesota and do the ice fishing. And I've always wondered, I'm like, well, man, is it always thick enough ice, these times, but yeah, they'll go out there and spend weeks on the ice in these, well, I shouldn't say weeks plural, but they'll spend days upon days out there on the ice, which is crazy to me. Riemann Root has a good louver cover. Brian says, I quit Carrier. Why'd you quit, Brian? Just curious. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Watsco owns a lot of the supply houses. Emery says, question, how does a dual fuel system switch from gas to electric heat? It's a good question, Emery. That answer would be different now than it used to be. Years ago, we used to have these things called dual fuel kits is what we called them. Brian probably has forgotten more about that stuff than I'll ever learn. But yeah, they were still there when I got into the industry. And in fact, I think I still had a customer even a couple years ago that he had a Linux system that still had one of those old dual fuel kits on them. You could probably still get them. It's just not the way it's normally done today. But essentially the dual fuel kit, you would program your thermostat, and then instead of the thermostat, controlling everything, you would wire the thermostat to the dual fuel kit. It was essentially a board with an outdoor sensor. And then that dual fuel kit became the brains. It would take what the thermostat was telling it. It would control the indoor and outdoor units, and it would determine what the temperature is outside and adjust accordingly, locking out the outdoor unit, running the indoor stuff. These days, thermostats will do it. A lot of the thermostats, you can run an outdoor temperature sensor. And let me just say, since we're on that topic, any of you that either has a dual fuel system or has ever considered getting one, one of my pet peeves, let me get my chat back going. I just realized you guys are still staring at Carrier units. Hold on one second, guys. I'm sorry. Back to the dual fuel stuff. One of my pet peeves when I had Griffin Air was I would not install those thermostats that use the internet or the weather to control the dual fuel. I was adamant that it had to have an outdoor temperature sensor, and the thermostat itself could control it that way, because I never wanted the power to go out or better yet, the internet go out. And then they've got to figure out, that system's got to figure out what kind of, heat it's going to run. And I think some of them are designed to just go ahead and automatically switch to emergency heat if the internet goes out. But I'm not in love with that. I mean, let's just do it right. And let's run an outdoor temperature sensor, and let's let that thermostat do the deal. Let it be the brains there, right? Bob says, lately I do wear shorts in the winter or summer. Man, maybe I should move to Texas. That sounds like my kind of deal. Brian says, if I lived there, I'd be fishing. We ice fish in Alaska. It requires a lot of patience. Yeah, these guys, he was telling me that they go out there and they stay for days on end. And I was like, well, how do you bathe? And he's like, well, you don't really, I guess they probably, take sponge baths. I mean, I don't know. I don't even think they do that. Right. And, I just can't, I can't roll that way, man. I grew up in the country and we do a lot of outdoorsy type things out in the country, but I never was much for the type to, to rough it. I wasn't even a fan of camping when I was a kid. Sleeping on the ground was not my thing. Of course, now a lot of people go glamping, but you get the point. Bob says, sometimes I get distracted and I forget. Old age. Amen to that. I'm getting there. I'm starting to get more and more forgetful. Ryan says, does Daikin still have a factory deal with GRI in Asia? I saw a story from 2009 that they had an agreement. Just curious. It's interesting how often competitors work together. I've noticed that too, Ryan, especially with like mini splits and stuff, how a lot of them will work together. I don't know the answer to that. Let's just say when I do talk to some of the folks at Daikin, it's not usually something that comes up. It's not something I don't press. Usually I usually ask questions like, what's coming out? What are you guys working on? That's the kind of stuff I'll ask. I don't ask about their partnerships and stuff. I would love to know, but it's just not something that we talk a lot about, to be completely honest with you. Daikin is the sponsor of this show, so awesome having them doing that, and thank you to them. Let's have our next breakout segment. This next segment is my computer is slowing down here. My next segment is a little segment that I call Josh's Crazy Clips. Our next crazy clip, let me make sure I've got the one, because there's one that's got language. So let me skip that one. We might still show that one night, but I'm going to have to figure out how to get I don't know. I might need to that's actually might be what I do. I might pull it out and then bleep out the language in it. It's an interesting video, but it's just got a lot of bad language in it. And, YouTube's always trying to look for reasons to shut us down, right? Hold me back, and, I don't want to give them a reason to do that. So let me see which one this is. Hold on one second here. Yeah. This is, bear with me here. Okay. Yeah. So this is a crazy clip of a guy that, let's see, shared this in one of the heating and air groups that I'm in Facebook. And I thought it was an interesting, he was showing all these different leaks at this house that has been going on a while. So check this out. So those are, let me see if I can pause it. That's a gas valve right there. So he's got it turned off and he's put bubbles on it. That's what we call it. It's basically a leak detection. You spray it on there, and then if it bubbles, it's leaking. And he showed 3 so far. 4. 5. Look at that. Bubbles everywhere. 6. Somebody's shoes. Wonder why there's so many valves, though. Wonder what these control. That looks like some sort of cap, union, T. There's another bubble. This is one of those jobs that, you're just going to come in and to be able to look at that, to be able to sleep at night. This really should all be replaced entirely. There's more. It's probably, there is something to be said for, possibly poor installation. I've seen pipes, over the years, but if those valves are failing to that degree as well, I mean, this really should all just be replaced and done right, especially with today's technologies. I'm seeing black iron button up with galvanized, and it's just thought that was interesting. We don't want to play any Andrew Schultz right now. He's a comedian. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that? It just leaks everywhere, man. This is crazy. When I saw that video. Brian says we just removed one, an Ecobee for the win. So Brian, are you an Ecobee fan? I like Ecobees. They look nice, but I've been drinking the Kool-Aid for Honeywell for so many years, and now Daikin and some of their controls that I've worked with Ecobees, especially if the customer buys one, but it's never really something that I think they look nice, but we've just never really gotten that far. Nest versus Ecobee, which do you recommend? Oh, that's a question. How do I want to say this, considering YouTube is owned by Google? I'll say this. I think I'm safe in saying this. A lot of pros, I think if you were to poll a lot of pros in our industry, they have favorites that are usually not Nest. Now, I have friends, I've met folks that love Nest, but there's a lot of guys that don't. And I'll just leave it at that. This is not always the favorite, if you will, but there's a lot of homeowners that love them, whether it's the ease of use or whatever the reason is. Maybe they just like them cosmetically, that they like that round look possibly. But, it sounds like Brian would probably recommend an Ecobee. Carrier was pay to be part of the special group. The group was not that special. You live in internet challenge country. They drink. Just make yourself a cartoon. Am I supposed to see the video? Did you not see the video, guys? I thought I switched to it. Did y'all not see that video that I showed? Well, that's silly if not. Yeah, I thought I switched to it. Do y'all not see it right now? It should be up there. Yeah, right there. I'll play it again in case y'all didn't see it. Residio killed Honeywell. Yeah, I'm not going to get into all that, but that honestly, I didn't know that. I didn't think that was, but I mean, people start new brands and, I don't know. I thought that was an odd transition that they did there, but I think they wanted to have a definitive difference from their residential stuff to their other stuff, I guess. The other reason I see people do that sometimes, Brian, is they're compartmentalizing things on purpose. Maybe they're going to sell something soon. And I know Honeywell owns this R454B, which is one of the new refrigerants that a lot of the companies are going with, and they own the patent to it. So it kind of makes you wonder sometimes what's going on there. But yeah, can you guys not see that video? I'm seeing it on my end. So if you didn't see it, but yeah, a lot of leaks there. And that was my crazy clip segment for the night. Emery says, I have seen 1970s Carrier round ones still in probably operation is what that's. I've seen those too. I don't know about in operation, but I have seen those. So let's see. Jump back here. All right. So anyway, yeah. Maybe a little treat for you guys. The numbers are low tonight. And so for those of you that have joined us anyway, maybe as a little treat for you guys, I'll maybe show you a couple slides from my new class that I'm going to be doing. I'm not going to go through everything, but I use, let's see, a program called Canva is what I use to make it. And I don't know if I'm going to use it again, but let's see, present. See if you guys can see this. So yeah, so this is just a little treat for you guys that, that are joining us, since I don't have everybody, our numbers are a little light tonight. but I thought I'd show this. I put a couple funny slides in there. I don't want these guys sitting through my class and it being just another boring class that, I'd like to, give them something good, if they're taking the time, their valuable time to come to our classes. I want to take a moment to, to give them something valuable and not just be another boring class that they fell asleep, while sitting in. But, that's my cover page as folks are coming in. This will be where I kind of introduce myself, my background, some resources that they could keep up with. In fact, you guys could probably even, if you wanted to keep up with some of this stuff, some of these websites are very beneficial. It's where I get a lot of my information. So that's part of my class. I jokingly put this slide in there where we caught a picture of a guy venting refrigerant. It's just a joke. But I thought that would be kind of funny, have a laugh. And then I say, here we are, or why are we here? The EPA and a lot of other people that are smarter than me are making rules and trying to make the world a better place. And 410A is now the devil. So I thought this would be funny too. This is a clip from that Waterboy movie. If you guys, I don't know if there's any Adam Sandler fans, but when Mama says that foosball is the devil, so I switched it to 410A is now the devil. So kind of my big joke, but yeah, this is just kind of a, like I say, a little clip of my class that I'm working on, and I thought it would be pretty good, to show you guys. Kind of a little treat for those of you that, join us as often as you do. We have a lot of the similar faces and, that join us, and I do appreciate your support. So, let's see. Stop sharing this. Did I lose it? I did lose it. All right, hold on. Bear with me. Share screen, live chat. There we go. All right. Yeah. So that's kind of a Brian says, can I go to the class? Who's your supplier, Brian? You probably, you live in Mechanicsville, I thought. And so you probably, if you ever go to Johnstone, you probably go to the one in Richmond. And I'm not going to be doing classes for those guys, at least not now, not anytime soon. So these classes are for folks down in the Virginia Beach area. But it would be kind of cool to, if you came to a class. Ryan says, maybe they will treat their customers better as a result of watching your channel. Oh, did I miss somebody? Oh, let me back up. I missed some of y'all's comments. Let's see. Brian says Nest is a homeowner focus. That's true. That we can agree on. T6 is bad. We had some problems with some of the T6s too. When they first came out, we had a lot of issues with them. Especially there was like an auxiliary heat relay that kept failing. And they even did I don't know if it was a recall or something about them, but yeah, I wasn't a fan of that. Have you ever installed a hydronic backup heat pump? Yes, we have. You got to plug your channel in your slides. I thought about that, but I'm going to kind of keep this separate. A lot of the guys that will be going to these classes, that my content's not really for them either. But, I think the main reason though is I don't want to be plugging my channel and then, the powers that be at my new job, I don't want anybody upset about that. Brian says, if it comes up, I'm not going to lie, but I'm not going to plug it. Brian says, Ryan, air to water heat pump, probably not your answer. Chill tricks. Got it. Now I'm catching up. Some of your comments, I was like, what did I miss here? Ryan says, maybe they will treat their customers better as a result of watching your channel. Who are you talking about, Ryan? I'm still missing the context on that. So I missed that. Emery says, thank God he didn't release refrigerant because I'm pretty sure that is illegal. It is. You can get in a lot of trouble. I'm on my phone, can't see. It's me. I'm the problem. Gotcha. Arch says, what's the word on R32? When do you think it will be available nationwide and packaged? Heat pumps. So I saw a timeline the other day, Arch, and my internal temperature too hot. My camera just stopped working, guys. So bear with me. I've got to figure something else out here. Always something, man. Always something. Give me just a second here so I can get a plan B going here. Give me just a second. I do not know why that just happened. Looks like your camera was unplugged. It wasn't unplugged. It said it got too hot. So that is crazy. Let's see. Give me just a second, guys. I apologize. Always something, man, when you do a live show. I've got a friend of mine that does a live show on YouTube. And he stopped because of all the issues. He was having guests and he decided to just start recording the shows because of all the issues he kept having with connectivity and stuff. And I don't know. I like my live show. I like that you guys can send me questions and I can just answer them right there without having to type out a whole bunch of stuff. But I don't know if it ever made more sense to do that, then, it would just make more sense, Give me just a second. I'm going to see. There we go. Can you guys see me on this? I've got to figure out how to hold it now because I don't have my normal setup here. You guys you'll never guess what I'm actually using to hold my phone here, or what I'm using for this camera, and that is my phone. Nope, you can't see me yet. Let's see if you can see me now. Nope. Still can't see me. Hold on. Is it gonna work? I swear, guys, what a great show this is. And look at this. The numbers didn't drop that much, so I appreciate you guys so much. Man, on that note, I think I'm gonna switch things up and do our next segment of the night. Let's see if I can get this thing to swing around here. If this thing's going to keep on and I'm just going to get a new camera. I'm not going to keep fighting this thing. 410A is the devil, but has help. Yeah. Carrier high-end becomes a dinosaur once the warranty expires. I have a lot of things I could say about things that I've experienced with Carrier and their parts and warranty and stuff, but I'm not going to do that right now. I sometimes wonder, I guess they're treating their dealers better than they do non-dealers, but it doesn't really, it doesn't excite folks that are not dealers to ever become one, in my opinion, dealing with some of the things that we dealt with. But anyway, I don't want to get on my high horse and, keep going down that rabbit hole. When becoming an HVAC technician or installer, do you have to learn every EPA regulation? To handle refrigerant, you have to pass a certification, the 608 certification at bare minimum. There's different refrigerant certifications and stuff like that, but bare minimum to just, to buy it, universal, but there's different types and stuff like that. So, if this works out, maybe I'll just use my phone from now on. I don't know, but this is, that really irks me that camera did that. Anywho, let's go back to for those of you that weren't with us on our original segment. I do want to ask, do you have any concerns on these new refrigerants coming out? Does it concern you at all? That was our original question. We only had 4 people on the show though when it started, so I don't know how many of you even saw that. But let's move on to our next question for you, back to our segments. And I got another question for you. My next question is, have you ever been scammed by an HVAC company? Have you ever been scammed by an HVAC company? I'd be curious to hear any stories you have on that matter. I'm sure some of you probably do. If you ever have been scammed, I'm sure some of you do probably have a story or two. Let's see. Bob says legal word for released refrigerant when disconnecting hoses, minimize. Yep. Ryan says the contractors in your class, I've dealt with bad HVAC contractors, figured if they watched your stuff, they would know that they are informed customers. Many dismiss my thoughts as a homeowner. Yeah, I've struggled with that a little bit, Ryan, because part of my job too is I'm going to be front row to, at times, things that probably aren't up to snuff, right? And so how do we go about handling that? I will say this: the company that I work for, if a contractor is not up to snuff, they will not continue to do business with them. So now what that looks like and the ins and outs of all of that, might be different definitions. Anyway, I don't want to get into all that, but I do know that there have been times that they've said to contractors, hey, it's really not working out. And so on. So, when I'm dealing with that, when I'm, in front of a contractor that they're not doing something correctly, there's going to be times and scenarios that I've got to really consider how I'm going to handle that, and so on. So it's going to be interesting. It's different, right? I mean, I owned my own business for years, and I didn't have to put up with hoo-ha because, I just didn't have to. Whenever I was dealing with anything really anything I didn't want to deal with, then I just didn't have to. I could either fire that employee or customer or whatever. You just not have to deal with horrible folks, and that maybe horrible is not the right word, but you know what I'm saying. Can't be worse than 410. Reverse threading, not concerned. I have the Daikin Atmosphera in my bedroom and I sleep great at night. Nice. Customers are happy. Arch says, it concerns me that buying a 410 heat pump and refrigerant not being available in 10 to 15 years. I don't think that's going to happen, Arch. I just think it's going to be super expensive. So I think even 15 years from now, I think it's going to be still available. In fact, I think if you tried hard enough, you might even be able to get your hands on a jug of R12 today. You're just going to pay handsomely for it. But definitely R22. There are guys that are still getting it. It's getting harder and harder to get, and it's getting more and more expensive. But I don't think that should be necessarily a concern yet. Maybe in the next few years, people might start looking at that timeline and saying, okay, now it is only going to be about 15 years. But, according to the AIM Act, they're saying that it's not a complete phase out currently. It's just a phase down by the year 2036. I think it's 2036 without looking it up. So they're going to get it down to 15% by then on what they were producing versus, what they will be producing then. But it's not going to be completely gone. Honestly, I wouldn't be worried about that right this second. It'd be more about the price for me. It's going to get more expensive as it becomes harder to get. But I don't think it's going to be one of those deals where, you need to be concerned that you won't even be able to get it. Brian says the refrigerant or drop-in will be available. That too. So that's the thing. So I was listening to a podcast the other day. There are drop-ins. Well, drop-in is not the right word. There are replacement refrigerants now for 410A, but they're not approved refrigerant, whether it's the SNAP program or whether it's the manufacturers themselves, they have not found one that is approved, but they do exist now. You can look them up. You just Google drop-in or replacement refrigerant for 410A, and some of these refrigerants are A1 refrigerants too, and they will replace 410A. Now, will they have the same capacity or still have the same amount of BTUs per pound? No. A lot of times that's not uncommon, right? When R22 went away and they started coming out with these replacement refrigerants, then they just simply weren't as good, right? Oh, you know what I could probably do? Give me just a second. I was sitting over here like, I still don't like the picture here. I don't like how I look here. I don't like how it's tilted up. But I forgot I have this little doohickey. And that's what I'm going to call it. It's a doohickey. But I've got this doohickey here that will hold my phone in a much more better manner here. There we go. All right, hold on. You guys are like, could you imagine watching like Fox News or CNN or one of those guys, and then they deal with the things that I deal with? You'd never watch them again. You'd be like, my gosh, I can't watch this, So, story of my life, right? Emery says, how do minimize refrigerant release when connecting gauges? So there is a technique that you can use where when you have the refrigerant in the hoses, that if the system's running and the pressures are lower on the suction side, as long as you purged everything like you were supposed to, connecting the gauges, then you'll be able to then put that refrigerant back into the system, and minimize that release. Ryan says, not scammed, but I've been given the I don't want to do this job price all the time, which can be 2 to 3 times the price of the contractor select to do the work. Actually, a friend of mine just called me today and he's like, dude, you will not believe the price I just got to replace 2 systems. Now, granted, he's gotten 4 quotes. 3 of them have been under $40,000. And he just got a 4th quote today from a company, and they wanted $77,000 to put in 2 systems and ductwork. Now, I realize some of you live in states that has a higher cost of living. But even in those states, to install a couple systems and the ductwork, 77 grand would be quite ridiculous. So I think just to play off what you just said, Ryan, I told him, I said that's the we don't want your business price is what I told him. I was like, they're just telling you they don't want, and that's okay. They just simply don't want your business for one reason or another. And, you just know that it's not a fit, so luckily he's got some other good options. So hopefully, that all works out. Brian says, Ryan, you have the highest end unit, not an ordinary customer. Ryan says, also, I've had to stick up for myself when I've had issues with my system that wasn't always repeatable, but when the contractor heard the strange sound but tried to later dismiss the issue as nothing. Yeah. I think, I think that's one of the things that we don't talk about enough on our show, right? That a lot of the things that we're dealing with is you're dealing with people. And I think that that's why, trades at times, and we're not just talking about the HVAC trade. I think we're talking about trades in general. A lot of guys, operate like they're one of those old, used car salesman. You ever seen those guys like the cartoons where he's got the slick back hair and, hey, let's make a deal. And I don't know, you just kind of feel dirty after you leave the car lot. That a lot of guys in our trades, a lot of customers feel that way about them too. And it's warranted, right? I had to tell them it wasn't acceptable and to talk to the manufacturer to resolve it. It was a brand new unit. And so I wasn't willing to go with it is what it is notion that many pros have sometimes. Yeah. Ryan's really got some good conversation here. When I help folks on our guide, one of the things we go over sometimes too is when you're dealing with the contract and you're dealing with the what's said and not said and all of that. I used to even tell my own employees, operate like you could end up in a courtroom. You need to operate like you could end up in a courtroom and wish you would have taken more pictures and wish you would have got more things in writing, wish you had clarified this or that, wish you would have gotten a better payment schedule, and understood that before you hired whoever you hired. Having those things in place, and just understanding that you could end up in a courtroom someday. No matter, it's okay to do good business and have a great relationship with people, but still understand you could end up in a courtroom someday and you're going to do everything properly because of it. I think, there's something to be said for that, homeowners and pros alike, right? Ryan is a challenging customer. When he finds a good contractor, they are probably good. Yeah, I agree. He's going to go through a few of the bad ones to find a good one. I found a good contractor, I think. Trying not to be difficult, just want it to be done right. HVAC work isn't cheap. I agree with that too. It's one of those deals where if you find a good one, you want to treat them good and you want them to be unannoyed that they're having to deal with you, right? But you got to turn over some rocks to find a gold nugget sometimes. Brian says the back end of HVAC is the hardest. Emery says, how do I know if a contractor is licensed? Because I have heard of people having work done by unlicensed contractors. Emery, a lot of states, I don't know what state you're in. You told me Texas. Texas has one, right? Texas, I'm fairly positive that they have it as well. I don't know what it's called, but in my state and in a lot of states, there is a trade. The state itself has a tradesman licensing, and I know for a fact that Texas has that as well. In fact, let me see if I can find it. Texas HVAC license. So it looks like if you go to HVAC licensed companies list. Bear with me. I'm not seeing it right this second, but I'm sure it's on here, Emery. If you go to this website that I just put in the chat, you'll be able to find local license. It's a Google search. Yeah, some states it's easier to find than others. In my states, as you know, Brian, it's very easy to find it, especially if you know the organization that does all of that. But anyway, look on that website, Emery. I'm sure if you poke around, there's going to be a list somewhere of contractors that are on it. What's crazy is in your state, Emery, I just found, I went over the statistic a few weeks ago with a guy that I was on his show, and how there is more licensed HVAC technicians in the state of Texas than any other state. I think it was like over 85,000. It was more than California and Florida. So I thought that was crazy. Honestly, I would have thought that maybe California had the most, or at least, would be in the running there. But yeah, Brian says, Bob, I have been lacking on lettering. Only one has my information. Yeah. So yeah. scamming companies, man. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing. It's probably the videos that I make that get the most amount of views. It's the thing that homeowners deal with the most. Is folks not doing things properly and the aftermath, right? The things that they've got to keep up or, put up with. And when I say aftermath, maybe even going to court or whatever. It's, there's news organizations that run scamming stings, right? They'll have these guys come in and they'll try to, see if they'll scam them. Right. And then they'll put it on the news. There's all kinds of stories that are like that. Ryan says, when I purchased my Daikin, I bought the Assure extended warranty plan. However, the dealer nor Daikin have sent me the proof of this purchase. I even called Daikin and they told me it wasn't purchased. The window may have closed if you, if you didn't get it purchased, but they need to give you the money back then. If you bought it and then and you don't have proof of that it's there, then that contractor at least needs to give you your money back. I'll follow up with Daikin. How long do they have to register the Assure extended? I don't know the answer to that. I know that they have up to 60 days to register the unit, but I think the extended warranties usually have a different window of time. We used JB warranties at my company. We did not use Daikin's Assure program. And there's different reasons for that. It's not Daikin's fault. I'll put it that way. But anyway, we went through the JB and we had on some systems up to 2 years to purchase the extended labor warranty. So you may or may not have that luxury with them. But if you could show them proof of documentation that you purchased it from the contractor and they, Brian says 45 days. But if you could, show proof that you did purchase it and then that they did not give you what you purchased, you actually may have, I'm not going to encourage you to go sue them, but you may have some legal leg to stand on there. I'd be curious what a lawyer would have to say about that. I'm not saying you're going to get the unit for free or anything. I'm not saying but they, they may owe you for some future repairs if they need it. The good news is a lot of those mini splits, if they were installed correctly, you shouldn't have a lot of issues, but that's neither here nor there at this point. You're saying you extended or you purchased the extended warranty. You didn't get it. Daikin saying you don't have it. You should have a certificate or some sort of, something in writing showing that you have it. Thank you. I think the contractor just hasn't done it yet. I definitely have it documented. Yeah. Be on their butt about that, Ryan, because the time is ticking. When you asked what the timeline is, there is a timeline. There is a too late. You can't buy it now. You can't purchase it now. It's too late. Labor can be purchased anytime. It's the same company as the phone Assurian. Yeah. So it sounds like Brian's pretty familiar with how that works. But I will jump in on that and say he shouldn't have to do it himself if he purchased it from the company. The company needs to give him his money back if they didn't purchase it, and Ryan's going to have to do it himself. Just throwing that out there. But and the other thing is, if it should be done through the company too, and that, they're going to want to know who. So the way a lot of those work is if you do have an issue in the future, they're going to go to the contractor that installed it that's who they're going to give the money to repair it. That's how that works. And so a lot of them, you need to purchase it through the contractor so that that's all set up correctly. But it sounds like Brian knows more about that program than I do anyway. So I could be a little bit confused on that. I could be wrong, but I definitely know that a lot of the third-party companies that's how it works. You want to go through the company. I registered the system myself, not sure how I can register the Assure extended warranty. So when you registered the warranty, Ryan, it should have popped up and said, do you want the extended warranty? If I'm pretty sure that's how it works when I would register them. It would say, do you want it? And you would say, yes, no, or whatever, or continue without it. And so anyway, either way, if you purchase it, if you gave that company you bought the system from money for that extended warranty, I'd call them tomorrow, and it needs to be done tomorrow. Like, it's not, hey, I'll get to it Thursday, or Thursday's coming up. Hey, I'll get to it on next Monday. No, I need it done today. And I need something in my hand showing that it was bought, paid for, registered. That's how I would feel about it. I'm not sure it can be done in a day, and that was one of my problems with that program. It was a little slow. Again, I don't think that was Daikin's fault, but I'm not going to get into all that. Either way, I would want something done right away. I don't know how long it's been since you had it installed, but that's not something they should be waiting on. It needs to be done right away. Maybe in a vendor portal. Some companies cover in-house, but the paperwork, they need to do it tomorrow. That's how I would feel about it if I were you. I'm not saying you got to be a jerk about it, but I would tell them, look, I looked in the paperwork. I have this many days to get this. I don't want to wait that many. I don't wait till the last minute. Let's get this done today. They're not so busy right now that they can't do it. We're not in the summertime. They need to take care of you, pal. They need to get that addressed right away. Anywho, we are past 9:30 my time. I know some of you are a little behind me in time. Numbers are a little low. Do me a favor and hit that like and share button, especially next week. We do have a guest next week. Let me go ahead and highlight that so you guys know. We've got one of the top contractors in the Midwest that's going to be joining us. He's got one of the best branded companies I've ever seen. And yes, I mean better than mine. Very good branding for a company. The other thing I really like about him is he runs his company right. He runs it the way I ran mine. He runs it in that he wants to be able to sleep at night. He doesn't want to take advantage of people. He wants to be able to bump into people in a grocery store and it not be awkward. He's just and he's also a really smart guy. I mean, I've had several conversations with him, and he's just a really smart guy. So his name is Howard. We're going to have Howard on the show next week. I feel like Howard's one of those names that you're like, Howard, he must be an old soul, right? But no offense to any Howards that are on here with us. But Howard's, I think, younger than me. If he's not, then he's getting around pretty good for his age. So, as we do, Randy's already saying, have a good night. As we do wrap up our show here shortly, if you know any good heating and air companies, please share that in the chat. Share where they're located. That's how we wrap up every show. You never know when, someone in your area might see your comment, and you're also showing love to one of the good ones. There's so many bad ones out there, and we're going to show some love to some of the good ones. But yeah, so that Ryan says, basically Ryan's got some stuff to get figured out here with this extended warranty. Was to pay another contractor to fix the issue. That's partly true, Ryan. However, forget all of that. The bottom line is, if you had a problem tomorrow and the system needs to be fixed, and you call that contractor, well, not tomorrow, but a year from now or 2 years from now, that you need to make sure that extended warranty is in place so that they pay. That's how that works. They pay the contractor to fix it. That's how it's got that's how it is a labor warranty. It's to cover that side of things as well. So it's not necessarily about the company going out of business, although that is something that they will, try to work on for you. However, it's more about they're still in business. Somebody's got to pay them to make this repair, right? Here we have no weather. Yes, Ryan Ashurian has other contractors in case of. Yeah, in case of. Bastards in Richmond, shout out to you guys. Brian showing some love to you guys. You must be doing something right. Arch, good night. Bob, good night. Appreciate you guys. Again, we're going to, have a great guest next week. In the meantime, make it a great week. and we will see you then.